Hello, I'm Ben Roberts, Artistic Director of Brighton CCA, and I'd like to welcome you to our exhibition of new work by Flo Brooks entitled Angletwich. The exhibition title is taken from the colloquial term in the West Country for a fast-moving child or a form of fishing bait, and is made up of 5 new works developed and made over the past 12 months. During that time, we've been working with Brooks to create an exhibition that has expanded the bounds of his practice to encompass installations for the first time and to include an expansive programme of social engagement. Early on in this process, we visited Brooks in his studio to talk about his practice and how the works were taking shape.
So for people that don't know what I do or don't know much about my practice, I would say predominantly a painter, and sort of drawing and collage and sometimes publication and social practice also kind of inform part of that. My work kind of, I would say, explores themes surrounding identity, labour, belonging and the everyday. And yeah, I'm really interested in kind of narrative and storytelling, and I often work in series. I can think about paintings in terms of, kind of dependent on each other. So kind of a series of like 3 or 5 or 7 or whatever. And I often use kind of my own personal experience to kind of look at wider sort of social, economic and political issues. So that's sort of my kind of way in to think about stuff. I work in acrylic on wood or board, and the shapes of the works are irregular, and they often are sort of dependent on what it is that I'm depicting in the painting. So it might be the kind of the environment that I'm describing, it might be the kind of the movement of people, it might be a particular kind of motif that I'm looking at. And there's lots of kind of little bits, like the paintings are they're really kind of built up and quite heavy. Like there's lots of tiny little, sort of like little tiny things, and then kind of larger interactions or kind of elements going on. What's really nice is for this work, I often work, the paintings are fairly similar sized, like if I'm working in a series. And these ones, I wanted them to be less dependent on each other, but still the narrative flow through them. Yeah, so they're kind of I guess I'd say semi-autobiographical. Like I always kind of begin from personal narrative or experiences that I've had, or things that I observe in my surroundings, things that friends and family talk about. Those kind of things are often where I begin from, and then I can then begin kind of unpicking certain ideas that I might want to follow through the work. So they're kind of about contemporary rural life, but from a kind of a queer trans perspective. And I wanted to look at specific spaces and communities and kind of interactions I'd encountered in the villages and the market towns that I grew up in the West Country.
As part of the development of this exhibition, we've been thinking with Flo about how we might present the works within the galleries. And for the first time, Flo has chosen to present his paintings within an architectural installation. Within the space, we can see the exposed framework of the gallery. Flo has also chosen to include a selection of architectural materials referencing the agricultural vernacular of the works themselves. So Brooks's use of colour, realism and graphic style are suggestive of a narrative arc within the work, reinforced by the apparently jumbled, frenetic action and scenes they depict. In Passing Place, for example, we see the familiar rural bus stop. A teenager glowers from the window as the driver stops to chat or ask directions from a worker in pink overalls. Perhaps something has occurred, a flood, or plans are being made for later. However, the seductive narrative qualities of these mise-en-scène are intended as archetypes, a compendium of lived experience, more than a singular narrative. Each work is a collection of moments or impressions and memories layered up and interwoven through the images. We are presented with a range of characters, pensioner, the agricultural worker, the tourist, and the shop girl frozen in the completion of an everyday action. There is a sense of exhaustion, as rarely are any of these people at rest. Their weary eyes look out with a sense of resignation at the endlessness of it all, the waiting, the cleaning, the fight to keep your head above water. These are worlds and situations which Brooks is deeply familiar with himself, and that sense of connection in the work is important. Amongst it all, within the long-established traditions of art history of representing working life and the lives of workers, there is also humour. Brooks' work fizzes with the rich detail and unsentimental appreciation of the comedy to be found in life's more abject situations. And so we find the slapstick quality of a surprised chicken, good luck charms hidden amongst the filth, and perhaps a sense that all of this is just temporary. Ultimately, it is the people that hold the fascination and the warmth for Brooks, and so as part of the exhibition, he has created another rural archetype, the Rural Tourist Office, this time in the form of another installation in the North Gallery. Daily Wind's Tourist Information Centre is a space designed by Brooks to echo the aesthetic and atmosphere of an original, but to operate as a place for real and genuine engagement with visitors to the exhibition, inviting participation and contributions to a programme of collaborations and events. These are being run with Flo by Polly Wright, programme producer at Brighton CCA, who's also here to talk about the programme and events in more detail.
In June, we sent out the first Daily Winds newsletter, a bi-monthly collation of informative and creative contributions that we sent via the post. Because we were working remotely and in isolation due to COVID, the group began sharing ideas and experiences through email threads, text, and occasional real-life exchange.
It just seemed sort of right now to be doing something which is involving like lots of different people, sort of drawing from our own experiences, our own backgrounds. Yeah, it's great how it sort of evolved, because we started off talking about this project, what this might look or feel like, or what kind of direction we might begin to sort of take it in, and then sort of inviting a small group of friends and allies, and then from that sort of kind of burgeoning out and inviting a few more these the kind of independent presses and distros, and then sort of workshops which are engaging with other artists and other people, and sort of the connections start to kind of branch off.
With reading groups, screenings, workshops, podcasts, and printed ephemera, we've really been enjoying thinking about many of the themes running through Flo's work and the research connected to understanding the rural in many different ways, including the Daily Winds map, which is on display on the windows. We've been really trying to create a balance of activities happening online and within the space.
By doing this, and what feels integral to the project, is allowing room for multiple perspectives, both critical and personal, that form an ongoing conversation about the rural.